Hey everybody, it's Dr. Puyi Devuti. I hope you guys are doing well. I just wanted to give you guys a serious talk, and this is a message of hope actually, about the coronavirus and COVID-19. You guys have seen some of my funny videos online right now, and I'm just trying to put smiles on people's face, but now I'm giving you facts and information that I think is very beneficial and helpful, and it's stuff I learned today that I think it's wonderful. A friend of mine sent me a video that was given by the pulmonologist in New York. His name is Dr. David Price. He is a world leader, essentially, in this COVID-19 in New York. He has a 1,200 bed hospital. Basically, all they're doing is seeing COVID-19 patients. That hospital is part of Cornell. And he has been telling us the information that he's learned, and he was very hopeful. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, the information I've learned and how to prevent your this disease from being transmitted, and also how to protect your family and basic little rules. And I took some notes for you. The video itself is about an hour long, but my video is going to be a condensed version of what he says, just so I know a lot of people don't have time to watch an hour-long video. So here's a couple of quick little facts. So the coronavirus is been around for a long time and is part of the standard viruses that we've had when we have a regular cold. But this one, COVID-19, is brand new. We've never had this. So if you get this, in your population, you're gonna get it. This is gonna, unfortunately, we're all gonna get this at some point, and we're just trying to flatten out that curve that we're talking about. So the good news about this is that even if you get it, 80% of people have mild symptoms, okay? What does mild symptoms mean? They have a headache, they have a little body ache, and they have a fever. Maybe a little cough there too, right? These are your mild symptoms. And those people usually will improve by day 3 to 5. Their symptoms start to get better. Of that subset, there's a group of people that will develop some shortness of breath. And that's when it gets scary, because just getting up and going to the bathroom, you can't breathe. That subset of people is where the concern is. And if you start getting shortness of breath, that is the only time that it's recommended for you to go to the hospital. Because if you go to the hospital with just a fever and a cough, they're gonna tell you go home. And you now just expose yourself to a bunch of people that has the coronavirus, and it's just not good, right? Or if you have it, you're gonna give it to a bunch of people. So shortness of breath, you go to the hospital. What happens there? Well, when you go to the hospital with a shortness of breath, the good news is 90% of those people with shortness of breath still go home, because they will do fine at home. They admit 10% of people to watch them in the hospital, not in the ICU, just watch them in the hospital. And of that, 1 to 2% of the people will require ICU stay and possibly getting a breathing tube in. The good news is, if you get a breathing tube in, that does not mean it's the end of the world and you might say goodbye to your family. That's not what that means. If you get a breathing tube in, most of those people will do well, because most of those people don't have a pre-existing condition. And this is not a disease just for the old. This disease affects people in their 30s and 20s, right? It's just the older people tend to have these comorbidities and these pre-existing conditions that it causes them not to do as well as the younger people do. But we still have younger people catching this and getting bad with this. So a lot of people do recover from this. So that is a good news. Now, how do you get this? There's 4 things that you should know about how to get this. First is sustained contact. So what does that mean? So if I'm a doctor and I go in a room in the close quarters, there's a patient that is coughing, he's got a fever, and I stay in that room for 15 to 30 minutes, I have a higher chance of catching that disease, because I'm going to be in a close contact with that person. Potentially the aerosolization of the virus in that closed space can get to me, right? Because I'm not wearing a mask. Let's say I didn't wear a mask and I didn't do a good job washing my hands. So the sustained contact is the key thing. And most of us out there, most people out there, most of the even doctors and clinics out there are not doing the sustained contact close quarters with anybody. So the only people that need to be really concerned about this and who really need the N95 mask are the anesthesiologists and the frontliners that are seeing these patients come in and they're putting breathing tubes in people where they're going straight into the lungs, into their face. They're the ones that need the N95, not the general population, okay? So just keep that in mind. If you have N95s, please donate them to the hospital and to your local clinics. Just let these frontliners have that protection. You don't need it. So most of us will not get that. The second thing is, this virus, 99% of the time, 99%, is transmitted when you touch your face with your hand. Okay, so right there, that should make things a lot easier. So how do we prevent this from happening? First, get rid of the virus. This is an easy virus to kill. All you need is soap or alcohol-based hand cleanser. That's all you need. This virus will kill itself. If you watch my video at Puyi Devuti on Instagram, or Northeast Georgia Plastic Surgery has my video on there on how to wash your hands properly. That is key. If you wash your hands properly, you get the virus off your hands. So it doesn't matter if you touch your face. You wash it off your hands, right? Second thing is, don't touch your face. Well, how do I prevent not touching my face? I'm a person that touches his face like all the time, and it's so difficult for me not to touch my face. So I wear a mask, and if you want, the mask could be a bandana. It doesn't even have to be a surgical mask. So anything you wear on your face that prevents you from touching your face, it gives you like a little clue, don't touch your face, then that's all you got to do is wear a mask. So any bandana and all that stuff, that works. Don't touch your face, because the virus is transmitted to the mouth, nose, and the eyes. So if you don't touch those areas, you won't catch it. Third thing that we need to know about is that, don't forget to give the mask, like I said, to the frontliners. We don't need N95 masks. Make your own masks. And the fourth thing is the social distancing. That is key, okay? You've seen I put some funny videos out there. I'm just trying to get people more aware of this. It's really important to have social distancing, because you want to be about 6 to 10 feet away, because that avoids the 15 to 30 minute rule of sustained close contact, right? If you're about a low distance, then you're no longer in that proximity of that patient. So that's the key thing. Now, social distancing doesn't mean you sit by yourself in your house. You could find a group of like 4 or 5 like-minded people that you trust, that they are as OCD about this as you are about when they go out and when they wash their hands and they have minimal contact with people and they just want to stay in a room. Those are people that you can get together and hunker down with, because you trust those people and you're like, these people are not going to pass this virus around. The way this virus gets passed around is actually through family members, because what happens is one family member will get it and they're in close contact with someone and they will pass it on to their fathers, to their mothers. That's the problem. So that's what we have to watch out for, is that social distancing is very, very important. And that's key. So those are a couple of the rules. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. The masks are intended for doctors only. You wear your bandana that you made at home or you bought online. It doesn't matter. Donate your mask to surgical masks to people, and let's help out the population with this. Second thing I want to tell you is what to do if you develop a fever. Let's say you're at home and you develop a fever, headache, and you're like, uh-oh. Well, most likely you do have the COVID-19 virus, just because people are not getting, flu this time of year. They're not getting common cold, especially with all the social distancing. Look, I just touched my face. With all the social distancing, you potentially will get you probably have it. So what you do is you isolate yourself. If you feel like you have a fever and a headache, isolate yourself from the family. You want to, if you have the luxury of having your own private room, be in a private room, have your private bathroom. If you don't have that luxury and you have to be around family members, this is the only time where I say you can wear an N95 mask, because you have the disease and you don't want to transmit it to anybody else. So the people that have the disease can wear an N95 mask, because they can give it, they can give it to the other family members around the house, because they can't isolate themselves from them. But let's say you have the luxury of being able to isolate yourself, but you still have to come out for food and so forth. You sit at your table by yourself. You wash the table with some sanitizer. You put the food away and you go isolate yourself. You don't have to isolate yourself for 2 weeks. Usually you start feeling better after about 5 to 7 days. When you start feeling better and your fever goes away, you still wear the mask, but you can come out and interact with a family member, constantly washing your hands, but you can interact with them, because the transmission is now coming down and lower and lower and lower. That's really important. The one exception to this rule is, if you have a family member that, let's say they're elderly, they have pre-existing condition of some sort of medical problem, someone's gone through chemo, you need to separate yourself from that person best as you can, which means have that person move to a different house, or you go to a different house. You don't want to have that person around, because that person is probably going to get sick. It's very difficult to isolate yourself from every single particle. And if that person gets sick, that's a disaster for them. So please do that. The other question that a lot of times comes up is, when do I go to the ER? And I addressed that earlier. Shortness of breath. That's the only time you go to the ER. Shortness of breath. The fever, cough, none of that matters. It doesn't work for you to do that. In fact, the CDC recommends, if you don't have a fever, or if you had a fever and your fever got better, let's say you're a healthcare provider, you wear a mask and you go back to work. That's a CDC recommendation. So if they say you wear a mask and go back to work, then you can wear a mask and interact with people around your house. The other thing is, If it's just a common cold, after 1 or 2 days, you should start feeling better. So if you don't feel better after 1 or 2 days, it's most likely the COVID-19, and you don't want to go get tested once again if you don't have to. The other question is, some people say, should I get tested? And the answer is, and the truth of it is, okay, look, if you're in a community where there's not a lot of tests, like Hall County where I am right now, I'm going to preserve the test for people that have shortness of breath. Because if I have a fever and I have a cough, I'm just going to stay at home and isolate myself. Because that is what the treatment would be most likely. I do have it, and I just need to isolate myself. So having a positive test doesn't help me. The only time a test helps you if it shows a negative result, because then you can interact with your family a little bit better, and you may be able to go back to work a little bit faster. But a positive test, you're going to do the same thing you were doing before, which is sit at home. So but if you're in New York, where the tests are a little bit more free to get and everyone's getting tested, then yeah, when symptoms start, you can be tested in those areas because the tests are available to a lot of people. And then once again, a negative test is what's key. The positive test doesn't really matter because symptomatic people need to stay at home. One other thing that I learned that I thought was really interesting was, I thought, somebody could have the disease for 2 weeks and be able to pass it around to people, and they may not get it, but they're passing around this disease. What I learned was, if you're able to pass the disease to someone, you will get it yourself as well. You may not just have it that day, you may not have it the next day, but within the next 3 days, that person is going to catch the disease themselves. So that's something you should know about as well. So it's not like this person passed it to me and they did just fine. No, they will catch it too. And if you got symptoms and you got it from them, you will have it too. So that's something new that I didn't know about as well. So those are the main things I just wanted to go over with. The key point is isolate yourself as best as you can. Don't run to the ER when you have just a fever and a cough. Just isolate yourself. Only go to the ER with shortness of breath. Wash your hands constantly. Purell them. Sanitize them constantly. You can wear a mask even when you go out. Everybody should wear a mask when they go out, but just a homemade mask, a bandana. Don't waste the resources of the country. You don't need a surgical mask. It will not help you in that scenario. It will do the exact same thing a bandana does, which is prevent you from touching your face. And then know that we're going to come through this. We're all going to make it. We're all going to walk out of this. This is a disease that is purely related to how compliant the general population is with it. And this is a disease that's going to be with us for about 18 months. Okay? Sounds like a long time. But it's going to be there because if you just look at the epidemiology of it, it's going to be here a long time. The goal is to get a bunch of us to have immunity to it so that we can weaken the disease. So that next time, maybe in 18 months, when somebody catches the COVID-19, what they're going to actually catch is just a small cold and not something that is horrible that's going to require ICU stay. So once again, if you guys have any further questions, feel free. I'll be happy to talk to you guys, message me. But these are the things I learned today, and I think it's very beneficial to be able to pass this on to everybody. And I hope everybody stays safe, stays happy. Put your videos of social distancing out there. I think it's funny. It's fun to keep people entertained as we're all sitting at home. I love you all. Stay safe. Thank you.